Hello, today I will tell you about a story called The Little Mermaid. Chapter 1. The Little Mermaid. Far out in the ocean, the water is blue and clear. White sands cover the bottom of the sea. Wonderful trees and flowers of all colors grow under the water. And fish, large and small, swim among the branches. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful palace in a deep ocean. The walls were made of coral, and the roof was covered with shells. A sea king and his 6 beautiful daughters lived there. His wife had died many years ago, so his old mother took care of them. She loved her 6 granddaughters, the little sea princess. The sea princesses were pretty girls, but the youngest was the prettiest. So she had long golden hair, her eyes were blue like the sea, and her voice was the most beautiful of all sea folk. But like her sisters, she had a long fishtail, therefore they were known as mermaids. Every day the sea princesses played in the palace. Beautiful sea flowers grew out of its walls. Fish swam through the windows to play with them. Sometimes the princesses swam to the shipwrecks on the ocean floor. They collected golden coins, statues, and other pretty items. One day, the little mermaid found a white stone figure of a handsome boy on the seabed. She took it to her grandmother. "It's just like the people on the land," said her grandmother. "Really?" said the little mermaid. "They must be beautiful. I want to see them." She places the stone figure in the middle of her garden. She planted pretty flowers around it. The little mermaid loved to hear the stories about the world above the sea. She was a curious girl. Her old grandmother told her about the people, the ships, and the cities. But most of all, she liked the stories about perfumed flowers. She also liked the stories about the flying fish called birds. She often looked up through the dark water. Sometimes she could just see the moon and stars. "I want to see all these beautiful, wonderful things," she said. "When you are 15, you can go," said her grandmother. "Then you can sit on the logs in the moonlight and watch the ships sailing by." When each sister turned 15, they swam to the surface of the water. Then they returned to tell the others about their adventures. The youngest sister always loved to hear their stories the most. "Oh, I want to be 15, she said. "I'd love to see the world above the sea. I'd love to see the people, the flowers, and flying fish." At last, her 15th birthday arrived. "Come, let me dress you like your sisters," said her grandmother. She put pearls around the little mermaid's neck, and she combed her long golden hair. Finally, she put white lilies in her hair. "Why must I wear these white lilies?" she asked. "I really wanted to red flowers from my garden." "They represent royalty," said her grandmother. "You are a princess and must wear them. Now you look beautiful. You can go." "I will, grandmother," she called. "Goodbye." Then she swam up through the water. The sun was setting when the little mermaid reached the surface of the water. As she floated on the calm sea, she saw the evening star twinkling in the night sky. She breathed in the cool, fresh air. Then she sat on a large log. She wrapped her long hair around her body and sang to herself. Look at this beautiful little mermaid. Chapter 2. the handsome princess. Oh no, prince. After a while, the little mermaid saw a ship sailing toward her. The sailors dropped anchor, and the ship moved gently on the calm sea. Many colored lanterns were lighted on the deck. Oh, how wonderful the ship looks, she thought. Its colored lights are so beautiful and pretty. Then the little mermaid heard music coming from the ship. She swam to the ship. Then she saw many well-dressed people on the deck. They all looked very excited. Among them, there was a handsome young man. He was a prince and he was having a birthday party. His big, dark eyes looked her breath away. He reminded her of the stone figure of a boy in her garden. "He is very handsome," she whispered. "I think I already love him." All of a sudden, hundreds of fireworks flew through the air. Pop, pop! Everyone on board on the ship shouted for joy. The little mermaid was frightened by the noise, so she dived under the water. But she soon popped up again and swam back to the ship. The little mermaid kept watching the prince. She could not take her eyes off him. "Oh, how lovely he is!" she exclaimed. "I really want to speak to him." She looked sadly at her long fish tail. "But I cannot walk on the land. I have no legs." Suddenly, there was a rumble deep down in the ocean. "Look out! Beware of the sea!" screamed the little mermaid. But the sailors couldn't hear her. The ship was tossed about on the angry sea. Huge waves broke over its sides. "A storm!" shouted the sailors. "Help! Help me!" The broken mast and the sails fell onto the deck. Some of the sailors fell into the sea. Then the little mermaid saw a young prince also far into sea. Finally, the ship sank to the bottom of the ocean. She swam to rescue the prince. His eyes were closed when she found him. "Don't die, my love," she whispered. "Don't die, I will save you." She held his head above the water. The waves carried them to the shore. When the sun rose, the storm stopped. The little mermaid pulled the prince onto the beach. "He's still breathing. He's alive," she said. Soon, a group of young women came down to the beach. The little mermaid was frightened and swam away. She hid in the water behind some tall rocks. She waited to see who would find the prince. One of the young women found him. She called to her friends, "Come quickly, there's a young man here." Then the prince opened his eyes. He saw the young woman's face. "Thank you for saving my life," he whispered to her. The little mermaid watched the prince wake up. He did not know that she had saved him. She swam slowly back to the sea. She felt very sad. Then the little mermaid arrived back home. Her worried sisters came to meet her. "Why are you so late? We thought you were lost in the terrible storm. What happened to you above the water?" But she remained silent. She stayed in her room for days. She didn't eat. She didn't talk to anyone. She knew that her love for the prince was hopeless. He would never marry a mermaid. Finally, she couldn't keep her secret any longer, so she told her sisters the story. "I fell in love," she cried. "Come, little sister," said one sister. "You must forget him. You and he can never be together." But the sisters felt sorry for her. One of their friends knew where the prince lived, so she took the little mermaid to see his castle. The little mermaid was very happy. After that, she swam near the castle every night, and in the moonlight, she watched the prince. Sometimes, she saw him go sailing with his friends, and some nights, she saw him taking a walk with his family along the shore. She liked the people on the land more and more, and she longed to live with them. Chapter 3. A Magic Potion. A little mermaid became more and more curious. She asked her grandmother about the people. If men aren't drowned, said the little mermaid, do they live forever? They die, said the old lady. And they live even shorter than us. We can live for 300 years. Then our bodies turn into sea form. But people have a soul. They die, but their souls live forever. Why don't we have a soul? Asked the little mermaid sadly. I want to be a real person. They have a soul. You must not think like that, said her grandmother. We are happier than the people. The little mermaid really wanted to have a soul. Can I get a soul? She asked her grandmother. Only if a man loves you more than anything else, said her grandmother. But that will never happen. Your fish tail is very beautiful in the sea, but on the land it looks ugly. The little mermaid looked sadly at her fish tail. Come, let's be happy, said the old lady. We are holding a ball this evening. Let's sing and dance tonight. It will cheer you up. That night, the little mermaid sang sweeter than anyone else. For a moment, she was happy, but soon began to think about the handsome prince. I will visit the sea witch, she thought. Perhaps she will help me. So she swam to the witch's home. It was located in the deepest part of the Dark Sea. She swam for a long time. Finally, the little mermaid reached the witch's house. The house was built from the bones of shipwrecked men. It looked very scary and smelled terrible. Oh, I'm scared, she thought, but I have to do it. The witch was waiting for her. I know why you came, she said. You love a man and you want to relax. What a foolish girl. The prince will never marry you. Please help me, begged the little mermaid. Okay, here is magic potion, said the witch. You must swim to the shore before sunrise, then sit on the beach and drink it. Your tail will divide into 2 legs. But listen, it will be very painful. I will do anything for my love, said the little mermaid in a tumbling voice. Remember, said the witch, if you do this, you will never be mermaid again. We will never go back home. If the prince marries someone else, you will turn into sea form. I love the prince so much, cried the little mermaid. I must do this. Now, I will take your beautiful boys as payment, said the witch. But without my boys, said the little mermaid, how can I speak to him? Speak with your beautiful eyes, yelled the witch. Now I will take your sweet boys. Then the witch gave a loud laugh and took away little mermaid's boys. The little mermaid quickly returned home. Everybody was sleeping in the quiet palace. She wanted to say goodbye to her family, but she couldn't say even one word. Then she went into her lovely garden. She felt very sad to leave everything, but she loved the prince the most. Finally, the little mermaid swam to the shore. She sat on the beach and drank the magic potion. Suddenly, she felt a sharp pain in her body. She fainted and lay on the sand. Chapter 4. A Life on the Land. Some time later, she woke up. She was surprised to see her beloved prince. He was gazing at her big, dark eyes. She looked down her body. Her tail was gone, and she had 2 perfect legs instead. Who are you? He said, but she could not speak. Her beautiful blue eyes looked at him. "Can't you speak, sweet girl?" said the prince. "Or are you just shy?" Again she said nothing. Then he picked her up in his arms and carried her to his castle. The little mermaid was given nice silk dresses to wear. Everyone was surprised at her beauty. She was the loveliest young girl in the castle. "She is so beautiful," thought the prince. "I like her so much." Each evening in the castle, beautiful girls sang and danced for the prince and his parents. "Oh," she thought, "I want to sing for him. Then he will love me like I love him." But suddenly, the little mermaid could not sing. Instead, he rose up to the tips of her toes, and danced across the floor. Everyone stopped to watch her. No one had ever danced so well. They were amazed at her beauty and elegance. The prince could not stop watching her. Since then, the little mermaid went everywhere with the prince. They went riding and hunting together. Sometimes they climbed the mountains. Her poor feet were always very, very painful and bleeding. But she did not mention it. She was so happy with her beloved prince. Some nights, she went to cool her burning feet in the sea. The fresh sea reminded her of her home. She thought of her palace, her family, and her garden. She misses them a lot. One night, she saw something moving in the waves. It was her sisters. They noticed the little mermaids and swam to her side. "Little sister, you're not dead," they cried. "I miss you," she called. But she couldn't make a sound. "Come home, little one," said the one sister. "Everyone is unhappy without you, but I love Prince. I can't leave him," she wanted to say. Her sisters waved goodbye and died beneath the waves. She was alone again. The little mermaid knew the prince loved her like a sister. She did not think of marrying her. She made her very sad. "Do you love me?" Her eyes always asked him. "You are always dear to me," said the prince. "You look so much like the young girl she saved from the storm. I love her." "But I saved your life," thought the little mermaid sadly. "My parents want me to marry a princess," he told her. "I must go and meet her tomorrow." "But I don't want to marry her. I would rather choose you as my bride." This made the little mermaid very happy. "Oh, someday he will marry me," she thought. "Tomorrow we will sail together to meet the princess," he said. Chapter 5. The Daughter of the Air. The following day, the princess' ship sailed into harbor. All the church bells rang and trumpets sounded as they wrapped the ship. Many people came to greet them. The little mermaid was curious to meet the princess. What does the princess look like? She wondered. At last, the beautiful princess appeared. The prince instantly recognized her. "Oh, it was you!" he cried. "You saved my life." He held her hands in his arms and kissed her. "I'm so glad now," he told the little mermaid. "I have found my true love. Let us celebrate." The little mermaid smiled at him, but she was heartbroken. The next day, a splendid wedding was held for the prince and the princess. They looked very happy. But the little mermaid was very miserable. She knew that was her last day before she died. That evening, they all went aboard the ship. The sea was calm and the night was clear. A light wind filled with the sails as they left the harbor. The sailors lit the lanterns on the deck. Then everyone celebrated the marriage of the prince and his bride. The music began. The little mermaid joined in the dance. Her feet felt as if they were pierced by knives, but the pain in her heart was worse. This is my last night. I will never see my prince again, she thought. The party lasted until after midnight. The little mermaid hid her sorrow and danced all night. Then the prince kissed his bride, and they walked down hand in hand to their beautiful cabin. Finally, a silence came over the ship. Only a little mermaid remained on the deck. She looked toward the east and waited for the sun. I will die in the morning, she thought. Then she saw her sister among the waves. They no longer had beautiful long hair. What happened to your hair? She tried to shout. We gave our hair to the witch, heard one sister, and she gave us this sharp knife. Before the sunlight, kill the prince. When his warm blood touches your fish tail will appear again, and you can come back to us. Hurry! Soon the sun will rise and you will die. They gave her a knife and then sank beneath the waves. The little mermaid ran to the prince's cabin. She watched him as he slept beside his bride. She looked so peaceful. She lifted the sharp knife toward him. Oh no, she shouted to herself. She could not kill him. She loved him too much. She landed up to the deck and threw the knife into the sea. The waves turned blood where it fell. Then she dived into the cold water. It surrounded her, and then her body turned into sea form. The morning sun rose above the waters. It warmed the cold sea, but the little mermaid did not feel that. In the bright sunlight, she saw hundreds of fairies moving in the sky. Their beautiful voices sang of love and kindness. The little mermaid felt her body floating like theirs. She rose up into the air. Who are you? She asked as she floated high above the sea. We are daughters of the air, answered one fairy. Like you, we have no soul. But if we are good and kind, we can get one. We carry the sweet smell of flowers through the air. We take the warm air to melt the snow. After 300 years, we can have a soul. But why did you bring me here? Asked the little mermaid. You have been good. Now you can have a soul too. A soul never dies. The little mermaid looked down at the princess ship. She saw that the prince and the princess were searching for her. Then they stopped and gazed sadly into the sea. They knew the little mermaid had drowned herself into the waves. The little mermaid flew down and kissed the prince and his bride. They felt the warm air around them. Don't be sad, she whispered to them. I am happy now. Then the real mermaid flew back to the daughters of the air. She looked towards the sun. The bright smile appeared on her face. Okay, this is the finish of the story, Little Mermaid. Thank you for watching.